Now let's head to the Ashanti region, where we're told that members of the Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly are meeting today to elect representatives into the Electoral College ahead of the Council State elections.
Godwin Okumenyame is the public relations officer for the assembly, just joining me and just going to talk us through the program for the day.
Today we are here to basically do three major things. That is to swear in the newly appointed government appointees, then to elect the presiding member for the Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly, and then also to nominate two representatives from the Assembly to the Electoral College, that's the Regional Electoral College, that which will elect the member for the Council of State for the region. So these are the three major things that are on the agenda today.
Last year, we spent about close to 8 months before somebody was elected.
If I may even correct it, it was barely over 1 year.
Wow.
Over 1 year that we were able to elect a presiding member for the Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly. Since the revocation came, obviously his time of tenure of office actually came to an end. So that is the more reason why we have to elect a new presiding member today, because Nana Adu Mensah Asare, that is the Amakum Hene, who was the former presiding member, was term has expired because he was a government appointee.
I think we are not expecting much of a tug of war kind of thing this time around, because against the backdrop that the ruling party, this is their stronghold.
Yes, obviously, politically, you can look at it from that angle. This is a stronghold of the MPP. So we expect that, obviously, we're going to have a presiding member elected today. That also notwithstanding, if you take the political issue out of it, you can also look at it from the fact that they say experience is the best teacher. If you are not able to elect a presiding member, the implications are obvious.
And we're still staying in the Ashanti region. Like I mentioned early on, members of the Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly are meeting today to elect representatives into the Electoral College ahead of the Council of State elections. Also, the agenda is the election of a presiding member for the next Assembly session. And as you can see, my colleague William Evans Nkum will be speaking with the Assembly's public relations officer. So over to you, Evans.
Assembly. Currently, they are on break. But Wendy, 3 items are on the agenda. We are talking about the elections of a presiding member, elections of 2 representatives to the Electoral College ahead of the Council of State elections, and of course, the swearing in of government appointees. Not long ago, that particular exercise was done. 44 persons have been appointed by the government, but I can tell you that only 40 made it to this particular exercise, and out of the figure, 8 were women. Next on the bill is actually the elections of a presiding member, and I must say that it was a near tug of war. One of the assembly members had moved motion that they were not privy to that particular exercise, so for that matter there was a need for postponement. But another assembly member also said that since the House has enough representation to conduct the exercise, it was only prudent that the process is allowed to actually continue. But the general consensus was that yes, the House have enough representation to conduct this exercise. So currently, there is a break, and after the break, we are going to see the elections of the presiding member. But Godwin Okumenyame, as usual, is the PRO for the Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly. Godwin, we are only hoping that we are not going to spend another long hours as far as this particular exercise is concerned. Yeah,
like you rightly said, the expectation is that by 1:30, the House has to reconvene for us to elect a presiding member. First on the agenda was the swearing, that has been cleared. So the second has to do with the election of the presiding member. As at now, I think it will be too premature, it will be too early to conclude as to whether we will be able to have or to elect a presiding member today. But I think we should hope beyond all aspiration that by the end of the day, we should be able to elect a presiding member, like I stated earlier, all of us knows the consequences of not having a presiding member. 2015, 2016, we went through that without a presiding member. Luckily, through the intervention of Nananom Manshia, we were able to have a presiding member. So the expectation is that, looking at the consequences and the implications of us not having a presiding member, without a presiding member, like we all know, the House cannot actually sit to deliberate on issues. So it is very crucial that by the time we leave here, we should have a presiding member.
And now let me speak to this assembly member. You had moved. Okay, all right. So well, let me speak to Ayan more. Ayan, you had earlier moved for an motion that the whole exercise should be postponed. On what basis?
Well, I didn't move the motion.
Okay.
And I wasn't in support of that.
Okay.
I wanted us to keep on voting for the presiding member. And their reason was that the government appointees needed to be briefed about the issue of presiding member. And we are of the view that no, when we came, there was nothing of that sort. So we should just go on and then elect a presiding member so that we can move forward as an assembly.
All right. Godwin, it's something that we don't want to revisit. I'm talking about what happened 2 years back. Do you think that this time around, I mean, looking at the body language of the assembly members, we are likely to get a presiding member before we leave here?
You see, like I said earlier, our hope and expectation is that we should be able to elect a presiding member. But one thing that the public must note is the fact that when it comes to the election of the presiding member, technocrats don't have the right to vote. The right to elect is solely in the hands of the assembly members. So for us as technocrats, our expectation is that by the end of the day, as we have on the agenda the election of the presiding member, we should be able to elect. But finally, it all behoves on the assembly member to actually elect one of them to become a presiding member for the Kumasi Metropolitan.
All right. Before we even wrap up, last year we had an issue. I'm talking about a litigation at the Chemso electoral area. What has happened to that particular issue? Is there anything that we know for as the latest?
Well, I think that issue actually it was in court. And I'm not very sure whether that has been cleared. If it has been cleared, a new date has been fixed for national election for the local election. It means the Chamso will also have the opportunity, that is the Chamso electoral area will also have the opportunity to elect elect an assembly member for the area. So let's hope. And that once it has been cleared by the court, the Chamso will also have the opportunity to elect an assembly member for the electoral area.
All right. So, Wendy, well, the bottom line or the key word here is hope. We are only hoping that by the close of day, the Kumasi Metropolitan or members of the Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly will get us presiding member to steer the affairs of this particular assembly. I mean, people are not happy, or people wouldn't be happy to say that this whole thing is extended or is actually graduated to a tug of war kind of thing. A consensus must be reached, and a presiding member must be elected today to ensure that the assembly moves forward. My name is William Evans Sinkum. Go back to studios and join Wendy Live for more on Midday Live. Over to you, Wendy.
Indeed, William Evans Inkum for that update.